A group of Columbia University students stormed and occupied Hamilton Hall yesterday morning. But as the hours wore on, the campus intifada began to feel a bit peckish, at which point the gender-bending jihadis held a press conference to demand humanitarian aid in the form of snacks and soft drinks.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately, in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take over this building. Now, would you please bring us food and water?
That was a pretty good question there from the reporter at the end. He observed that if the students really were on the brink of death from going 5 or 6 hours without a nice, refreshing sip of La Croix or some other tasty treat, the students might consider just going out and getting one themselves. And now, the gluttonous little gorillas probably were somewhat parched and piggish. They are used to getting what they want, no matter how unreasonable the demand. H.L. Mencken once observed that democracy is the theory that the common people know what they want and deserve to get it good and hard. That is certainly true of Democrats, capital D Democrats, who are now reaping the harvest of what they have spent many decades sowing. And no matter how much Republicans want to stop the madness, and I know a lot of Republicans want to put an end to this, if the Republicans have any sense at all this election year, they will refrain from interfering. And they will make sure that the Democrats, now caught in a crisis, continue to get exactly what they have long said that they want, good and hard. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Joe Biden bans TikTok. The Republicans are celebrating. Some people are really being hurt by this. And the people who are being helped seem mostly to be libs and Democrats. So I'm not sure this was the smartest move. Not sure it's the best look for Republicans. But when you want your best look, you ought to check out Genucel. Go to Genucel.com/Knowles. Are you looking for the perfect Mother's Day gift? My friends over at Genucel are offering an extra 25% off in honor of their 25th anniversary. If you have not tried Genucel, a great place to start is with their most popular package. This package features their Gen 90 serum, which instantly results in visibly erasing the wrinkles around your eyes, forehead, crow's feet, and laugh lines. It also includes their top-selling under-eye bags and puffiness serum, as well as their jawline treatment for a more contoured, defined jawline. Genucel is so confident in their product that they guarantee you'll see results in less than 12 hours or you'll get your money back. Celebrate the moms in your life with the world's best skincare at a once-in-a-lifetime price. Go to Genucel.com/Knowles, Knowles, for an additional 25% off Genucel's already amazing Mother's Day sale. Right now, in your order, Genucel will include a free spa box with 2 bonus gifts and free shipping. Do not wait. This sale won't last long. And they have limited inventory available. That is Genucel.com/Knowles, Knowles, Genucel.com/Knowles. The campus protests are not what they were in my day. Okay? I know I'm not that old. I've only been out of college now for a little over 10 years. I guess about a dozen years now. Maybe I am old. But I remember way back in my day, it was all the same kind of people. You know, it was the ne'er-do-wells and the malcontents and the libs and the people of ambiguous sexuality and the angry feminists. It's always the same people. It's just back in my day, the big protest movement was Occupy Wall Street. And they had Occupy movements all over the campuses. And it was annoying, and they had the tents, and they smelled, but basically what that protest movement came down to was a bunch of weirdos camping out, doing drugs, hooking up, sitting around in drum circles, okay, which is annoying and stupid, but kind of funny, or, it's whatever. It's par for the course. This protest movement seems so much lamer. I didn't see a single drum circle. And granted, I was just looking at the press conference, but they're so self-serious. We are taking over the building. That's right. And if you don't bring me a tin of Pringles, I will perish. I will die. I have now gone almost 45 minutes without a snack, and I basically know what it's like to be genocided now. Where is my snack? Where is my catering? Not what they once were. At least back in the 60s, when the black radicals took over Willard Straight Hall at Cornell, they were carrying rifles, sending the poor parents out. These were radical leftists who wanted revolution. I mean, they were terrible. They should have been arrested. It was a huge disgrace. But at least they called for revolution, and they really looked like they meant it. These people, they just look like, all of them, down to a man or a woman, or people who don't look really like a man or a woman. They just look like the kind of people who, if they had gotten one more hug from dad when they were 6 years old, they would be perfectly fine. But they never got over it, and now they're angry, and they're throwing their temper tantrum, albeit this time in kefias. Albeit this time, they're siding with, jihadis or something. Really, who could have predicted that? Who could have predicted that? Really? My main takeaway from it, other than a great deal of laughter at these people and anyone trying to ally with these people, is give them their Pringles, give them their snacks. I want to make sure that these protests go on for as long as possible. I feel bad for the students who can't make it to class or whatever, who maybe they had a class that was supposed to take place in that building, and now, the gender-bending jihadis have taken over the building and they can't. I feel bad and everything. It's Columbia, man. It's the Ivy League. It's the American university broadly. That is the left's territory. Those students, none of them voted for Trump. They're all leftists. The administrators who are now trying to negotiate with the least terrifying terrorists ever in the history of violence, they're leftists. Not one of them voted for Donald Trump. The people who want to send their kids to these schools, they're leftists. The people in the neighborhoods around New York, they're leftists. It's all left on left fighting. And it's so embarrassing. And it's especially embarrassing for the president of the United States, who's now getting it from both sides. He's being accused of being too pro-Israel. He's being accused of being too anti-Israel. And his donors hate him, and his base hates him. And everyone is angry at the liberal establishment because there has been a contradiction. There's been a tension within the American left that is right now coming to a head. And Republicans, who just love clutching defeat from the jaws of victory, we want to interfere. We're going up and giving press conferences there. We need to stop this. We need to send in the police. No, we don't. Let them keep talking. Every time that angry young woman opens her mouth, I think 5 more votes go to Donald Trump. Every time that androgynous, effeminate man with the keffiyeh and the crop top sort of just struts around behind her, we get another 10 votes for Donald Trump. Let it keep going. It is a basic rule of politics that when your opponent is destroying himself, you don't interfere. You don't stop him. Elon Musk made this point. Elon Musk just tweeted out, "The young on the left are obviously already openly anti-Semitic. As they grow in seniority, this will become the entire left." And I think that's true. There's a little bit, there's always a little bit of Jew hatred throughout history. It's sometimes a little more pronounced, sometimes a little less. Sometimes it's more concentrated on the right. Sometimes it's more concentrated on the left. Right now, there is no question it is concentrated on the left in America, throughout the Anglosphere and Europe. It's a left-wing thing mostly. And the young ones, these homosexuals and feminists and, girl power gender studies majors are wearing the headgear of radical militant jihadis, Islamists, okay, who don't take very kindly to the LGBT community or, uppity women, okay? They're not the biggest fans. And yet these young people are so angry at the state of Israel that they've convinced themselves, I don't know, next they're going to be wearing full burqas or something just to totally own the Jews with facts and logic, with, I don't know, with the Quran and the Hadith. It's so hilarious. I mean, it's so absurd. It's so insane that we should send them more costumes. We should give them more microphones. We should give them more cameras. This is a bad look, man. This ain't going to play in Peoria. This is a totally fringe view that is not only rejected by the Republican Party, it's not only rejected by independent and moderate voters, it's even rejected by half of the Democrats. It's very bad. I obviously don't encourage people to cultivate unjust prejudices and hatreds of any group. But right now, this is really farcical. Right now, I don't actually think, that Jihad Jane over there is going to set off a dirty bomb in Morningside Heights. I think she's just going to explode the Democrats' political chances the more she speaks. So let it happen, man. It is this stuff that they are doing is odious and repellent to the vast majority of voters. Very, very ugly, very silly stuff. Make Biden own it. Now, when you want to educate yourself and actually learn things and not just, engage in some kind of intifada, you ought to check out Hillsdale. Go to hillsdale.edu/Knowles. Are you tired of scrolling through shows on TV and finding nothing but the same mind-numbing brain rot content? Use that time to learn something new and inspiring with Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses. You can learn about the works of C.S. Lewis, the stories in the book of Genesis, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, or the history of the ancient Christian church with Hillsdale College's online courses, all available for free. If you are not sure which lecture to try, a great place to start is with American Citizenship and Its Decline with Victor Davis Hanson. In this 8-lecture course, Dr. Hanson explores the history of citizenship in the West and the threats it faces today. With their self-paced courses, you have the freedom to start whenever and wherever you want. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles, to start. It is free. It is easy to get started. Hillsdale.edu/Knowles, Knowles. That is hillsdale.edu/Knowles. Speaking of things looking terrible for Democrats, Nancy Pelosi just went on MSNBC. This is the most left-wing cable news channel, the most in the tank for the Democrats cable news channel. And she became frustrated by what she perceived to be the pro-Trump tilt of the interview.
Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And
I
he
don't
has
think
the
that
worst.
anybody can accuse me of that.
Oh, that's weak stuff from Pelosi. You get this MSNBC left-wing hack, and she just pushes back in the mildest way. Pelosi says, Trump has the worst record on jobs of any president. And Trump has actually one of the best records on jobs. But in the final year of his presidency, the global authorities and the Democrats, mostly in America, demanded that we voluntarily shut down the economy. That's not, oh no, Bear Stearns is collapsing. That is a conscious decision by the government to tell people you don't have a job anymore and you won't for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. That's not job loss. That's just a shutting down of the whole system, mostly pushed by Democrats. So this interviewer, because she has any self-respect at all, any integrity, she goes, well, hold on, Speaker Pelosi, Leader Pelosi, there was a global pandemic. That wasn't his record on jobs. And Pelosi just glitches out. She's so shocked that anyone would push back on her really absurd claim. So well, if you want to be an apologist for Trump, that's fine. First, she just repeats the same talking point that she had come up with. She goes, well, if you just want to be a pro-Trump network, and the interviewer laughs. She says, I promise you we're not a pro-Trump. I'm trying to help you, Pelosi. Okay, we are a Democrat propaganda arm, Pelosi, but you got to give me something to work with. We can't just go out and tell people, actually, the cost of goods and services is much lower than when Biden left office. Because people know that's a lie. Actually, there are no illegal aliens pouring across the border. No, everything. People know that's a lie. We have eyes, okay? There are no wars going on overseas that threaten to pull the United States in a regional or global conflict. No, we know there are. So you're not going to defend Joe Biden by just lying. I don't think. Not about basic facts and policies and circumstances that people are living through every day. The MSNBC woman is on Pelosi's side, but she's saying, lady, come help me help you. And Pelosi gets angry about it because she's got nothing. What are they supposed to say? What is the Democrat pitch in 2024? What's the pitch? We know what the chief pitch is. Trump is evil. Trump is evil. And he might be the president again. And he's evil and a criminal and evil. Okay. What else you got? You want to chop your genitals off? We'll let you do that. Okay, that's not really. You want to murder your baby? We're in favor of that. It's not so uplifting. Anything else? Did I mention Trump is evil? Okay. Good luck. That's real desperate. So you're seeing, and this is always a telltale sign of the political reality. When the libs are turning on the lib media, when the libs are turning on their own propagandists out of frustration, that is a sign that they don't have anything to propagandize. They don't have any persuasive talking points that they even could promote to the public. So when that is the case, as it is right now for the Democrats, their only option is censorship. If they don't have any good news to spread or even any plausible propaganda that they can spread, then their only other option is to censor, which is exactly what they're doing. Joe Biden just signed this bill that was pushed, I think, imprudently by Republicans to ban TikTok. This happened last week. This was part of that big war funding measure, $95 billion war aid measure, money for Ukraine and the state of Israel and Taiwan, and you get $1 billion and you get $1 billion, and also a provision that would force TikTok to be sold or be banned in the U.S. Right now, it's owned by this Chinese conglomerate, and so they say, okay, if you sell it, if the Chinese sell it, then we can keep our TikTok. If the Chinese don't sell it, it's banned in the U.S. Okay. Now, in principle, do I have any problem with that? Certainly not. I have no problem with we the people, through our representatives, exercising our political rights to delineate the public square, kind of like pruning a garden. In principle, the Chinese Communist Party could use TikTok to push a bunch of red Chinese propaganda onto our youths, and we have the political right to stop that in principle. But is that really what's happening? Doesn't seem to me it is. Does it seem to me that Xi Jinping is really the one benefiting from TikTok being popular in the US? No. Who benefits? Not just from TikTok. Who benefits from the banning of TikTok? Seems to me the clearest beneficiary of the banning of TikTok is Joe Biden. Because right now, TikTok has turned against Joe Biden. And that's because TikTok is used by Gen Z. And Gen Z has turned against Joe Biden. And Gen Z has turned against Joe Biden in no small part because of his Gaza policy, because they've all turned into a bunch of jihadis. And there are many very interesting historical and sociological reasons for why that happened. But they're out there now on campus wearing the keffiyehs, demanding humanitarian aid in the form of Ruffles potato chips and chicken tenders and seltzer water. And they're really angry that Joe Biden is still supporting the state of Israel. Some of Biden's donors are upset that he's not supporting the state of Israel enough, but the boomer donors are not on TikTok. It's the young people on TikTok, and it's causing a real political headache, so they got to shut it down. They got to censor TikTok because that is where Biden is losing a constituency that he cannot afford to lose, which is young voters, a group that Democrats rely on. That's who benefits. How do Republicans benefit by banning TikTok? I guess the only other consequence, the only major public consequence that I can see in America from banning TikTok, beyond helping Biden, is that it also helps Mark Zuckerberg. It also helps Google. It also helps the direct competitors to TikTok. That's good? That's what we want? We want to help Mark Zuckerberg, who spent $400 million in the 2020 presidential election to help Joe Biden and to hurt Donald Trump? That's good. We want there to be fewer competitors to the libs who control the social media networks in America, who control our public square and who censor conservatives and who have immense influence, who can, according to some analysts, persuasive analysts, flip elections. That's what we want. That's not what I want. Who benefits? Who's actually getting hurt here? Is Xi Jinping quaking in his boots? Is he crying himself to sleep every night because Joe Biden signed this law to shut up people who are criticizing him? No. You know, the kind of people getting hurt by the TikTok ban? This lady.
Y'all see this RV? That's where we live. Not because we wanted to, because we couldn't afford housing anymore. What blows my mind is they are so swift to try to ban an app that has actually allowed normal middle-class people to gain some financial traction, where instead of living check to check, we now can have money to put back to get us a house. Literally, so many people are so out of touch with what TikTok actually is. Because this isn't a silly little app where we watch dances. There are small businesses that survive based off of this app. There are people who are just your normal everyday people like myself, who have been a stay-at-home mom who's finally able to do something where I post videos and make money off of that, or I promote products from TikTok Shop where I can actually bring in a significant amount of money to help provide for my family. I work my butt off doing it, but everyone sees it as just a silly little app. You are so out of touch. So is our Congress. So is all of our government. They have one track mind, and that's to control everybody. They obviously don't give a crap about its security. I don't understand how so many people buy into that lie. If they cared about our national security, if they cared about our data, then we wouldn't have Facebook, we wouldn't have Instagram, we wouldn't have open borders.
Wouldn't have open borders. How many Chinese nationals unvetted are pouring across our southern border every single day? A lot. That's how many. They don't seem worried about that security threat from the Chinese. It's so true. This is what the Republicans do. It reminds me of that line from G.K. Chesterton, who said that the job of the progressives is to go about making mistakes, and the job of the conservatives is to make sure they're never corrected. That seems like what it is. And while the conservatives go out there and they give their grand strategy, really grandiose strategy, policy speeches about how this is really going to stick it to Xi Jinping, Joe Biden's going to be laughing. Why'd he sign this bill? Why? Because he is in a pickle and the Republicans are bailing him out. The Columbia administration, you think they're angry at Mike Johnson for giving a speech at Columbia? You think they're angry at the Republicans for calling for these protesters to be arrested? No, they're thrilled that the Republicans are going to do the Democrats' dirty work for them and let them save face in front of their own supporters. When your enemies are fighting, don't interrupt. Now, speaking of really great products that you can sell on social media, men's health products, generally, they're terrible. Generally. What you need is the new Emerson MultiVitamin from Responsible Man. Responsible Man is a new company from DailyWire Ventures dedicated to bringing you the best high-quality men's health products. Your modern diet is often deficient in key vitamins and minerals, leaving you weak and diminished. That is why we've created the Emerson MultiVitamin. Well, I mean, I didn't create it. I wasn't in a lab coat with a microscope or anything like that. But I understand they've done a very good job. The Emerson MultiVitamin is a physician-formulated, robust supplement made up of 33 key ingredients that help fill nutrition gaps to support your immune system, maintain energy production, sharpen brain cognition, and support the health of your heart and muscles. Emerson comes in a matte black aluminum tin, very sleek. The vitamin capsules are smooth, easy to take, and they are mint essenced for a great smell and taste. Just a little essence. As a man, you have people relying on you. The world conspires to see you fail. With so much chaos and uncertainty, it is crucial to take charge of your life and responsibilities. And where does that start? It starts with Emerson MultiVitamin, baby. A simple daily discipline to make the most of yourself, live up to your responsibilities, and exceed the expectations of others. As part of this exclusive Daily Wire launch, you can save 30% off by visiting responsibleman.com. The Emerson MultiVitamin is currently in stock. It ships immediately. There's a limited number available, so take advantage today. Save 30%. Responsibleman.com to to take responsibility today. Speaking of the election and Joe Biden benefiting and President Trump, the man who is really all the craziness seems to circle around, Trump, for his part, he's not on defense and he's not helping out his opponents. Trump is on offense. Trump just had a big cover story in Time Magazine. Time Magazine terrified. There he is. It says, if he wins. And what will he do? The quote that's going viral from this lengthy interview worth reading is, if you look at the Biden administration, they're sort of against anybody, depending on certain views. They're against Catholics. They're against a lot of different people. I think there is a definite anti-white feeling in this country, and that can't be allowed either. I don't think. Now, by the way, he didn't just volunteer this. He was asked at this, do you think there's anti-white racism? And most Republicans would back away from the question. They'd say, I don't know. I mean, there's anti-everybody stuff. And Trump starts to do that, but then he hits the answer. He says, there is an anti-white feeling in this country, and that can't be allowed either. I don't think it would be a very tough thing to address, frankly, but I think the laws are very unfair right now, and education is being very unfair, and it's being stifled. But I don't think it's going to be a big problem at all. But if you look right now, there is absolutely a bias against white people, and that's a problem. Does anyone disagree with that? Does anyone really disagree, even on the radical left? I know there are some leftists who listen to this show. Very appreciative of you for doing so. Be honest with yourself. You might say, well, there should be a discrimination against white people because the white people have benefited from 7 billion years of all the oppression that they've inflicted on. They're the worst people. Okay, fine. I don't agree with that point. But at the very least, then we all agree there is de facto racism against white people. It's the only group that you're allowed and encouraged to insult regularly. And there's de jure racism against white people, meaning there is discrimination in college admissions. If you're a white guy, it's harder to get into college. If you're a white guy, it's harder to get a job. If you're up against a black, lesbian, pygmy Muslim who's applying for the same job as you, she's going to have a better chance of getting that job because of the DEI departments in the companies. So it's just it's a fact. It's according to the law. It's according to the cultural norms and practices. There is discrimination against white people, a pronounced kind, one of the few forms of racial animus that you are encouraged actually to express in public. And that is a problem. It's unjust, shouldn't happen anymore. Trump has the guts to say it. Whoopi Goldberg on The View has a meltdown.
There's also, this is my favorite. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you before I say it that it enraged me. There is a definite anti-white feeling in the country right now.
Oh, please.
Yeah, that's what he said. You know, sir.
Oh, sir?
Yeah, sir. Nobody in your family was hung. Nobody in your family was chased because of the color of their skin. How dare you? There's no anti-white issue here. You are perpetrating anti-humanist issues here.
Okay. I never know when I don't mean this to be mean. When Whoopi Goldberg speaks, I don't really know what she is trying to say, and I don't think she really knows what she's trying to say. She's certainly not referring to humanism, like the intellectual movement that comes out of the Renaissance and then is developed through the Enlightenment and into modernity. She's not talking about that. She's not referring to secularism or atheism, which is sometimes what humanism is a byword for. And I guess she means Donald Trump hates all people, because he's the devil. He's the devil himself. That's what they all mean. But what does she mean that there isn't anti-white feeling? There are courses in universities about abolishing whiteness. There are in major companies, there will be diversity, equity, and inclusion trainings in which people are told to become conscious of their whiteness, which imbues them with unconscious biases, which makes them unjust and racist by virtue of their whiteness, which needs to be abolished. Okay, that is an anti-white feeling. Even what Whoopi says, there was slavery and there were lynchings, and you white people should feel terrible about it. Okay, well, even if all of that's true, you are implicitly making the same point, which is white people should feel bad about the color of their skin, and it's bad to be white. Because, someone's great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, participated in slavery or something. It's especially rich coming from Whoopi Goldberg, who pretends to be a different race. Whoopi Goldberg is a black lady named Karen Johnson, I think her name is. Forget her real last name. It ain't Goldberg, though. She made that up. And apparently, so the story goes, so this has been widely reported on, Whoopi's mother came to the conclusion that Whoopi would never make it in show business unless she pretended to be a Jew. because I don't know, I guess her perception was that Jews were very prominent in show business. And so she changed her name to Goldberg. And so she's pretending to be a Jew, a kind of a white person, a type of white person against whom she is inveighing. And it's especially ironic, but seems to me pretty clear that there's nothing to this. If the best she can muster is, well, someone in, maybe in my family line was hanged. There was slavery that, okay, you're proving the point. The constant reminder of the sins of people hundreds of years ago to make white people today feel guilty and pay actual cash money in the form of reparations, and pay in terms of giving up their spots at universities, and pay in terms of giving up their jobs. That is the proof that there is an anti-white feeling. So really what she's saying is, yeah, there is anti-white racism, and that's good. And that's really what all of the left is saying. And I think the rest of us who are not radical leftists, who are just normal people of all races, on the right, in the middle, on the center left, we all find that really distasteful and abhorrent, actually. But Whoopi wants to run on that. Yeah, anti-white racism is great. Great. Please. I hope you talk about it every day on your show. I hope you talk about it every day and you do a big special before Election Day. I want a week-long special about how we got to go get whitey because of the evils of slavery, which is still practiced virtually everywhere in the world other than in the West, and which is distinguished in Western civilization mostly by the fact that the West almost uniquely abolished it, uniquely in its fervor for abolishing it. Yeah, great. Talk about that all the time. I am all for it. Then people can go cast their ballots for Trump. They'll be more likely to do that. And you should go and not just push the button for Trump in November and all the other Republicans. You should push the button on YouTube right now to subscribe to this channel, ring that bell, and subscribe. Now, speaking of nonsense on television, there's a new report out from GLAAD, which is one of the LGBT advocacy organizations. GLAAD is reporting a decrease in LGBT representation on TV. This is the 19th annual report on LGBT characters in TV shows. This is for the 2023 to 2024 season. And they've noticed a decrease in representation for the second year in a row. Now, if you've watched TV in recent years, you'll note that about 99.7% of characters are in some way sexually eccentric or deviant. It is, even though it's only 3% of the population or something. It's on TV, it's probably 97% of the population. But there's a decrease now. So last year, 468 LGBT characters appeared on TV shows compared to 596 the year before. 36% of those characters will not be returning for an upcoming season. 39 LGBT regulars on 64 primetime TV series. That represents a decrease of 44% compared to the previous year. However, that's also partially explained because there are just fewer shows on premium TV. Now, how about the why does there have to be a 1,300% increase in LGBT, and characters on network television? Why do you need that? Because it's obviously not just about the poor oppressed people privately exercising their misunderstood desires or, unaccepted desires. It's about cultural revolution. That's obviously what it's about. That's what the left has been stating, at least the intellectuals of the left have been saying for a century. And the people don't like it. One of those intellectuals, one of the best ones, Antonio Gramsci, the Italian communist, observed. The only way to have a successful revolution is to hold on to the common sense. You got to keep the people on your side. Sometimes you push too hard and the people don't like your theories and they smack you down. That is what we're seeing. We're on the brink of that right now. The people are sick of the theories and the bizarre behavior of the left. So as that is happening, conservatives, please don't interfere. Don't rescue the libs from the consequences of their actions. My favorite comment yesterday is from the Shafe 47. But he's mocking you. Oh, this is that CNN interview of Bill Barr. You're still supporting Trump, but he's mocking you. Bill Barr says, so? Exactly. What are we, 12? That's what the commenter writes. Yeah, what are we, 12? That's what CNN assumes, because the emotional and intellectual maturity of the average CNN viewer is about 12 years old. And it's not just the Democrats. Some Republicans get into this stuff too, these petty little squabbles where it's all just about me, 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 me. But Bill Barr has a good answer. He says, yeah, not about me. I have personal beef with Trump, but it's not about me. It's not even really about Trump. It's about what's best for the country. And hi, I'm Bill Barr. I'm a reasonable person. And I can recognize Trump is obviously much better for the country than Joe Biden. Whether Trump hates my guts, whether he makes fun of me every single day, whether he calls me a big dumb lump, I don't care. It's not about me. That's a very mature perspective, not the sort of thing we would expect from the left. From the left, we expect tears and screams and the taking over of buildings and the demand for Pringles and bottled iced tea. Speaking of weird stuff on TV, I have to get to the weirdest clip. I know it was going around yesterday and the day before. I can't let it go, though. It's from the Drew Barrymore show. Drew Barrymore has a talk show now. And the most notable thing about her talk show is they've got this really big set and this really big couch, and she sits really close to her guests. At one point, she was interviewing Dylan Mulvaney. She was down on her knees, like supplicating gobbling up every word that Dylan Mulvaney, every pearl of wisdom that came from Dylan Mulvaney's mouth. Well, she did the same thing with Kamala Harris, and she coined a new term and articulated a novel desire for the vice president. I'll let her put it in her own words.
I've been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Momala of the country.
I do not need her to be my Momala. I don't want to speak for you. Maybe some of you out there, I don't want Kamala Harris to be my mom or my Momala. The craziest thing about Drew Barrymore's declaration here is not just the funny wording and not just Kamala with her really super serious face saying, yes, I will be your Momala. Yes. The craziest thing is Kamala Harris is not a mom. She's not a mom, and she doesn't appear to have ever wanted to be a mom. It's not just that she's not a mom because, she tried for years and years to get pregnant, and some couples are infertile, and that's very painful, and, and maybe she could go out and adopt Kamala Harris didn't get married until she was 50. Kamala Harris has never at any point in her life suggested that she has desired to be a mother. She's not particularly maternal. I'm not even criticizing her for it. She's a career woman. She rose to a very high position in politics. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be a lawyer and then a politician and then a senator and then now vice president of the United States. And she obviously wants to be president. Okay, some women don't want kids. It's a small number of women, but some women don't. She didn't even really seem to want to get married. She prioritized her career. So she got married after her childbearing years at age 50. But that's not the kind of person we want to be Momala. That's not the kind of person we want to be our mother. You see this trend in Europe where the vast majority of national leaders don't have kids. Some aren't married. Many just don't have kids. They're married, but they just don't want kids. And that is a problem, actually. And it's not just a problem of infertility, which is another problem we should try to address medically and politically and environmentally, but it's usually by choice. These people just don't want to have children. Increasingly, people just are choosing not to have children. And it's really bad when it's the leaders of our country who are behaving in this way, because they are expressing through their actions that they don't care about the future of the country. They don't really have skin in the game to make sure that they are leaving for posterity a better country than they found. That's really bad. And a consequence of that is the main inheritance that we appear to be leaving politically to the next generation is a mountain of debt. Patrick Deneen made this book quite beautifully in Why Liberalism Failed. There's obviously something sick in a culture that leaves as its chief inheritance to future generations debt rather than something bigger, something that they've built that they actually leave them because they have an interest in the future. Drew Barrymore is perfectly wrong here. Kamala Harris, first of all, I don't want the vice president to be mommy generally. Don't even really want the president or vice president to be daddy. I guess there is a paternal aspect to the presidency. We refer to George Washington as the father of our country. And so but I don't really want like a maternal aspect to, no Momala. Especially when the politicians we're talking about have no maternal instincts. Now, that's not even the weirdest thing that came out of the Drew Barrymore. Well, maybe it is. The second weirdest thing that came out of the Drew Barrymore show, though, and it was a pretty good question to ask Kamala. One of the hardest hitting questions I've seen the vice president asked was why her laugh is so weird.
My staff, for example, sometimes they'll show me little things that just amuse me. Like, apparently, some people love to talk about the way I laugh.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I love your laugh.
Well, let me just tell you something. I have my mother's laugh. Oh. And I grew up around a bunch of women in particular who laughed from the belly. Yeah. They laughed. They would sit around the kitchen and drinking their coffee, telling big stories with big laughs. I'm never going to be, that's just, I'm not that person. And I think it's really important for us to remind each other and our younger ones, don't be confined to other people's perception about what this looks like and how you should act in order to be, right? It's really important. Put a pause
here. I'm going to get the words a little off, but let me see if I can. It's very important to remind each other and our young ones to not be constrained by other people's perceptions of what it is to act and to be. Can anybody tell me what that means? It reminds me of a great quote from Oscar Gamble, former New York Yankee, who said, some people don't think it be like it is, but it do, which actually has a much clearer semantic value. One can much more easily discern the meaning of Oscar Gamble's great wisdom, or even a Yogi Berra-ism. It's deja vu all over again. I don't know. A lot of confusing wisdom comes out of the New York Yankees, but it's much clearer than whatever Kamala Harris is saying, and that's why I laugh, because it's important that the future to know that we won't be constrained by what it is, but what we could be and what we were, and how to act and to be. Doobie-doobie-doo. Can we finish it up? What is the rest of her monologue?
Important. It's important.
It's important.
I love your laugh, and I love that message.
It's important. Kamala Harris laughs loudly and for a long period of time because she has nothing to say. I have never heard Kamala Harris express a thought. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I can't think of a thought. The only one that comes to mind is during the 2020 debates, she insinuated that Joe Biden's a racist. I guess that is a thought. She didn't even quite hit the point. She just really implied it and insinuated it. But that at least was a hit. That was her. Other than that, can you think of a thought, an idea that woman has ever expressed? It's just words mashed up next to each other that give the illusion of a sentence, that then give the illusion of a paragraph, that then give the illusion of an argument. But it's not. And so she has to punctuate this blather, this absolute piffle that she produces from her vocal cords with laughter to fill the space where thoughts should be. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. I have some of my longest standing political friends coming on the show right now. I am so excited about it. The chicks on the right. We'll see you over in the member segmentum.